Hi, my name is Mamta and I am the founder of Believing Good. Welcome to another conversation of normalizing health conversations. Today, here with me is Devdeep Chaudhary, who is going to talk about journalism and mental health. In this conversation, we are going to understand how journalism not just affects the producers but also the consumers. To give you a brief about what Dev does, Dev is associated with a Japanese daily called the Sankei Shimbun. It is one of the highest circulating dailies in Japan. Dev is also associated with a startup based in Bangalore called the Spark Live, where he works as a consultant. He is someone who actively engages in podcasts and talks related to mental health. Welcome, Dave, and
Thank
I
you so
hope we
much
have a
for
good
having me.
conversation. I hope we have a good conversation.
I'm looking
Before we even
forward.
start, would you like to say something about yourself?
I am passionate about mental health. I have seen colleagues, I have seen family members struggling through it, and I know how real it is. So, any venture that is trying to break the taboo, trying to normalize the any conversation on mental health, it has my full endorsement, and I shall try and do my bit to make it a little more interesting about how we journalists face certain issues, how it affects our work, and how it reflects our consumers' behavior towards the product we generally sell.
Great. So to start off with, I would like to understand what does journalism really mean to you? Because in developing countries like India, the youngsters do not really understand what unbiased journalism is.
Well, I won't claim that I also understand unbiased journalism to its full extent because as human beings, we are conditioned in certain ways and we all have our biases and ideological preferences. But what I try to do is try to keep it separate from my work. So you asked me what journalism means to me. For me, I wanted to become a journalist as a kid for a very juvenile reason that I liked listening to Rajdeep Sardesai and I loved Barkha Dutt when she went to Kargil. Uh, Once I enrolled in journalism, I understood how different actually journalism is and how there are so many facets of it. Within the first 3 years, I understood that I'm not meant for TV journalism. I am more of a laid back person, a bit lazy as well. So maybe newspaper or new media, online media was my field. In all the things I have tried to do or I want to do as a journalist, the most important part for me is to uh, try and remain objective in my ventures. What journalism means is it's not like just a profession. It is a service. I do have a passion for journalism. uh, I mean, not the starry-eyed ones of trying to emulate Barkha or Rajdeep, which kids of my age at that point of time
Right.
wanted to do, but I still want to serve it in a way where I can become a conscious record keeper of the events that are happening in the country. I can disseminate that information to people who want to know unbiased, neutral, honest news. And I think we serve an important purpose. We serve as the gatekeeper of accountability from the powerful, and we try and we try and serve to people who are marginalized. And I think in that way, journalism has always been an empowering tool for the masses. It strengthens the democracy, and I want to play a small part in whatever capacity I can
Right.
to to uh, become a meaningful journalist.
Right.
So, being a journalist means for me to become something which is meaningful to the society, and I can serve it in a manner that can be probably regarded as honest.
Right, right. So as a child, you always looked up to Barkha Dutt and Rajdeep as
They were glamorous, yes. I mean, when I was growing up, Big Fight was a big thing. Kargil happened, and
yes,
Barkha reached there. I I used to follow their exploits, and that is something which a child in me wanted to, become something like that. Yeah, I mean
Hmm.
that's what made me take journalism as a.
But did you
I
look?
did graduate course
Hmm.
as a journalist,
So
so
did you look
that's
at
what.
them as heroes? Were you always as a
Not
child?
anymore. No, not
Not anymore.
anymore.
But as a child, you
No.
always
Yes. Yeah.
right.
Definitely. I mean, the first instance of getting an inspiration was probably the then editor of Statesman, Mr. Irani. C.R. Irani used to have a column in the Calcutta edition of the Statesman.
Hmm.
It's called the Caveat. It used to be called the Caveat,
Okay.
and I was an ardent reader of the Caveat. So I wish, and my English was very poor. I was from a Bengali medium school, so I wished I could, write like that. And then obviously the TV, the cable networks came.
Hmm.
24/7 news channels became a reality, and that's when the inspiration sort of drifted away from C.R. Irani to Rajdeep.
Right. So, I want to know that journalism is usually referred to a lot of information. So, if there is journalism, that means there will be a lot of information,
True.
and people are always consuming this all the time. Do you think that such amount of information is really needed for humans? Because if we look back a few years or decades back when we were kids, we did not have so much information. Our parents did not were not looking at so much information all the time, and they were quite happy with what was being fed to them on the TV or in the print. So do you think now it is needed so much?
When you have free data in the country, information will be there. I mean, you or me, we cannot help it. We can obviously value judge it, that how much information is good information or something like that. Here I have a simple principle. I think information which is verified, which is fact checked, which leads to a certain value addition to whatever venture someone is in, that information is always valuable. No load of that information is bad. But as probably you're aware, due to social media primarily, and
Hmm.
always there is a design for misinformation and fake news.
Yes, yes.
The lots of information, when you look at the purity of that information, when you look at the coherence, when you look at the credibility of that information, it is not there. So basically what we are consuming is bad information. What we are consuming is something that is not verified. So I don't think too much information is the problem. I think too much bad information or unverified information is the problem. And if the consumers become smarter, if the consumers decide not to consume unverified information, I think information is empowering. Any
Yes.
society which has information which are credible information makes a more empowered citizen, makes a more empowered society. But it has to be good, credible, verifiable information.
Right. I absolutely second your opinion on verified information. So, as a journalist, can you tell me? Suppose I'm a lame person and I wouldn't understand what verified and unverified information is. So, how do I judge whether an information is verified or not? What is the key?
So the first instance, the key is not to forward information that is not verified.
All
you
right.
may you may or may not know at that point of time if that information is good or not, but that impulse of forwarding everything you get on social media is the problem, because that is how bad information becomes has a multiplying effect.
Right. Right.
So the first instance, the impulse of ours to share everything we have
Hmm.
is something which we need to curb. Second, there are tools and resources where a responsible consumer can verify the information. I'll give you an example.
Mm-hmm.
If today you get a forward like, say, the North Korean leader, Mr. Kim Jong Un, he has died. I'm giving this example because 6 months back there was
Yes.
a rumor that
Yes.
he has died. So there
Absolutely.
were WhatsApp forwards and a few Hindi channels, Hindi TV news channels. They did a show on that
Yes.
ye mar gaya hai.
Right. Right.
So the basic thing one could have done is to just Google Kim Jong Un death, and the first search result that would come up would be a website from called Snopes. Snopes is a Snopes. Snopes is a website that busts fake news and fake information.
All right.
And there is a treasure trove of fake information busters that exist in India and as well as worldwide. There,
Okay.
there is an incredible amount of verified information that is also being shared by journalists who are credible. And you can get, there are organizations such as Reporters Sans Frontier, there are organizations such as UN approved media accredited pool. So if one can just go search their names and follow them, probably on social media, say Twitter or something like that, and also the verifiable sources of news, like
Hmm.
something like a BBC, something like an Independent or a CNN,
Hmm.
probably to cross check that first. If we can get over the urge to share whatever we get on the social media and
Hmm.
try and verify it, try and cross check it. As a layperson, I may not be a journalist, I may not have a lot of tools to understand this is probably fake, but I
Yes.
can still do a Google search because everyone is that sort of tech savvy.
Yes.
And if I just remember the credible sources of information
Hmm.
that has had a name in journalism, that has had a name in media industry for many years, if that information is verified by them, then I
Hmm.
should go ahead and obviously share it.
Right.
So as a layperson, my advice would be to control your impulse, verify, and then obviously share away.
Have you ever done this as a journalist, that you've gotten information and you would like to share it with your family and
Yes,
your
yes,
friend?
yeah. Every time as I cover Ministry of External Affairs and Strategic Affairs, we are privy to a lot of classified information, which,
Yes.
but it has become a part of your job that you don't share something like that. I may discuss it among my peers,
Right.
or I may try and get it verified from other sources, from say another ministry or something like that.
Hmm.
But no, obviously, I mean, I understand what a classified information
Of
entails,
course. Because I
and I
remember
don't share.
when COVID started, there were a lot of portals who shared numbers of how much COVID patients are being registered every single day, how many are
Yeah,
dying, and the first impulse of anyone would be to share it with their families and just create that panic.
yeah.
In fact, I used to do that. And once I spoke to my brother, who's also a doctor. He said, do you know if this information is verified? Do you see that on the government portals? How are you even sharing that, even if it is your family member? It just creates panic, it just creates a lot of stress, and especially a pandemic like this, it will definitely be you don't know what repercussions you will have when you share this information. So I
It
completely
does.
agree.
It
Yeah,
does.
yeah, I completely agree that as someone, I would have not even verified this information and just randomly shared it with people कि अरे यार कोविड के इतने केसेस हो गए आपके स्टेट में घर पे रहो.
But if you look at it,
Hmm.
if you really want to see the when COVID happened, it was such a new thing for even journalists. We didn't know what
Yes.
to do.
Yes.
The government of India, they set up a website, and within a few days, they also set up a fact-checking, arm of
Hmm.
the
Hmm.
Press Information Bureau,
Yes. Yes.
because there were so many different sort of rumors that were going on at that point of
Yes.
time.
Yes.
So if we can make a media management arm of government which can try and continuously sensitize the citizens that you
Yes.
must not fall prey to rumors and fake news, and there are credible sources of information available at your fingertip right now. You just
Yes.
need a smartphone or a laptop, you can verify it. So
Right.
if there is a concerted effort like that, I think it can be managed.
Hmm.
It's
It's
not
not
probably
something.
something which
Huh.
is a
Hmm.
yeah which is an epidemic that cannot be controlled.
Right, right, right. So this gets me to another question. Since you spoke about misinformation, um, even if there is a small piece of information or misinformation, no matter how much knowledge we have on that piece of information, we tend to share it.
Yes.
If it is misinformation, do you think it is the irresponsible journalism or the urge of the viewers to even share it with people, that is creating more panic, more stress? Or is it like a combination of both?
Yeah, you're right. It's a combination of both. It's a
Hmm.
complex ecosystem. The ecosystem survives on sensational news, and a lot of the sensationalism, the news, why it is news, because it has been manufactured. So why it is manufactured? Because the consumers want something like that. The revenues go up, your TRP goes up, and I'm particularly talking about right now TV
Television.
news media.
Hmm.
Yeah, newspapers so far I have seen, and apart from a few websites, I think even the online news portals are much more responsible and much less prone to peddle misinformation. But it's a complex ecosystem. It's a consumer based model where profits drive journalism. And when, as I said you before, I think journalism is a service, and once it becomes solely, I mean, I'm not saying the journalist should remain poor and serve the people.
Yes,
They have every right to earn
of
money,
course.
live a good life, and be self sufficient.
Right.
But that cannot be the sole motive of an organization. Just to peddle misinformation to earn profit, it has become a very, very widespread problem, not only in India. If you look at the recently concluded US elections, the amount of misinformation, even for a
Yes.
developed country, that were peddled by big media houses, it was
Yes.
astounding.
Yes.
So the problem is complex. You're extremely right. It is irresponsible. I agree. But as long as we don't have independent media, or we don't have a media model that is not dependent on ad revenues for its profit, then till that time we will have this problem. That is why if you see these subscriber based models where
Hmm.
consumers will pay for responsible and good journalism, and that media house will not be dependent on corporations or the government for its revenue, you will
Hmm.
see that kind of misinformation peddling will come down. But as of now, I don't have an answer to, I don't have a solution to offer.
Of course.
But I completely agree with you that it is irresponsible, and that kind of sensational news, misinformation, that creates a lot of stress, that can even create social disharmony, that can drive people to suicide. I have
Yes.
mentally, I mean, the way Sushant Singh Rajput's case was, I'm giving an example here.
Hmm. Hmm.
It was outrageous how Indian media covered it.
Yes.
Uh, WHO, the prime body of the United Nations on health, it has a media kit. It has a media tool on how to report suicides, and every guideline of that tool was just thrown away in the dustbin, and it was reported in such a manner. The kind of photographs which were shared by senior journalists, the kind
Yes.
of graphic details that were shared on prime time, how he died, it is triggering for a lot of vulnerable people, which people did not understand, and they did it. So why they did it? Obviously, it's because it generated a lot of interest and a lot of revenue. It was sensational, and
Yes.
probably for the 90% of the consumers, it was even entertaining.
Yes. Yes.
But for a small segment of vulnerable population, it was extremely traumatic.
Yes.
So information which are peddled in a sensational manner, mostly, and whatever they said, it was mostly untrue, and that that actually can result in even a suicide or attempted suicide, or
Yes. Yes.
people spiraling into further depression.
Right.
We don't know, we don't
Yes.
have a study to find out the effect of that sort of journalism, but yes, it
Yes.
happens.
Right.
Unfortunately, it did happen.
Right, right. So cases like Sushant Singh Rajput, or even the Hathras case, or Unnao rape case,
Yeah.
uh, j- it was a mockery of human rights. I mean, so many people who were involved in this, and families of victims, they were tortured by. I'm sure they were tortured by
Yeah, I
journalists.
mean,
So by the end of the day,
trying to reliving that and every time you
yeah, by the end of
yeah.
the day, any news channel or any news organization is run by human beings. Do you think that the consciousness of people who run this is going for a toss?
No, not. I mean, they're doing it knowingly. I'm not. I'm very sure that it is not something they're doing it unknowingly. Uh, all the senior journalists have a team of legal eagles, a team of human rights correspondents who have been covering these for such a long time. And
Hmm.
don't get me wrong. I think the attention Sushant Singh Rajput's death got to mental health in general, it did. I mean, there is a flip side to it. I mean, if you talk about the Hathras case, or if you talk about the Badaयूं, the Unnao case, there has to be a fair reportage on suicides, on rapes, murders, because what we are talking about are these are the fringes of the society which exists in the dark corner, and people don't want to talk about it. People
Yes.
brush aside.
Right.
So certain amount of media attention is good, but you have to follow a guideline which is created by experts, which has been practiced in all over the world in terms of giving a fair reportage, giving a
Right.
balanced reportage.
Right. Right.
So don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that Sushant Singh Rajput's case should not have been covered, or it should not have been
Yes.
covered like the way it has been. I have a problem with the
The
manner of the
process. The
reportage,
process.
the process and the manner.
Right.
I seriously think that a case like Hathras or suicide should be given due consideration and should be given due airtime, because that does create a lot of awareness also.
Right.
I
So, do
mean,
you mean to say that there
yeah.
is no body which is regulating strictly on such processes in
No, I
India?
mean there is an NBACA, there is a IBCA, the Broadcasters Association, and so on.
Hmm. Hmm.
But those are advisory bodies. Though they don't have any punitive, they can't take any punitive actions. So
So there's. Hmm.
they're not an appellate, or they're not a body with judicial resources.
All right.
So
All right.
unless someone goes to court, like in this case, Riya Chakrabarti went. In some cases, some of the Bollywood celebrities who were named in this
Hmm.
Sushant Singh drug nexus,
Hmm. Hmm.
Karan Johar and Rakul Preet Singh, they went to the court and they brought an injunction notice for not further any reports.
Right.
Should not be broadcasted by certain media houses.
Right.
Unless someone goes to the court, there is no authority in India right now that can possibly take any punitive action for fake information or sensational news.
Oh, so it is the responsibility of a person.
It's a self censorship and a self regulatory body. Yes.
All right, all right, all right. So everyone who's listening to us, if there's something that you're going through and you think is wrong towards you, I think they and the media is covering it in the wrong way. It is the responsibility of the person to report it to the right body so that the due action.
If you look at any news channel, they will run a ticker at the bottom that
Mm-hmm.
if you have any problem with the content of this particular program, you can write to the certain authorities. It is
Ah,
in states it is different. Vernacular media has a different one.
yes, yes,
The
yes.
national media has a different one. So
All right.
yes, the audience, the viewers can lodge a complaint.
All right. I want to know your personal experience on how did you feel when you were covering a very difficult story? How did you react? How was your reaction physically and mentally when you were covering a very difficult story?
One of the first stories I covered as a journalist was when I was just fresh out of college, and I went to Yavatmal in Vidarbha region of Maharashtra to cover farmer suicide.
Hmm.
It was one of the grim years because of drought. There were crop losses, and lots of farmers were in debt, and
Hmm.
a few of them committed suicide. And I visited those families. So the problem we have with privileges and the middle class ethos is that I was staying in Nagpur because that was the nearest airport to Yavatmal.
Yes.
And
Yes.
as I was working for a foreign newspapers, I was booked in a five-star hotel.
Yes.
And from there, we used to take a car, drive down 3 hours, 4 hours to the interiors of Vidarbha, meet the families of the suicide victims, talk to their children, the wives, the father, sometimes the mother, try to get a reaction from them, try to be respectful, but it was an extremely sad situation, and I was quite young. So one of the stories, it still rings, it still haunts me, that the a place I visited, one of the families, the father committed suicide because he owed the local money lender around 5,000 rupees. I'm talking about back in 2006 or 5 or
So,
6,
hmm.
2007, I think. And when I came back to my room, I realized the tariff of that room was 6,000 something per night.
Oh my
That
God.
I couldn't sleep. And that has always remained with me, that a lot of journalists, they try to make them the story. So we are not the story. And me, from being a certain class, and me from being certain organization, I have a lot of privileges. So I can feel futilely. I mean, I've obviously felt sad, but we need to understand that privilege, how it works. And that should make one more responsible about reporting stories of abject poverty, of this kind of horrible system of market that creates a debt to a farmer, where a small amount like 5,000 rupees can drive someone to suicide. So we
Right.
need to be humble, and that reaction, that lesson I learned that day, it stays with me, that it is not about me. What I feel or what I don't feel is absolutely is trash. It's not important. But
Yes.
what is important is to get that information, some sort of visibility, so that some kind of corrective measures can be taken, because it is that dire. It is that difficult a situation in a large part of India, and I'm sad to say it remains the same in many parts of India till today.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely.
So yes, it is personally speaking, it is traumatic to cover something like that. But it also makes you realize how lucky you are, how
Yes.
privileged you are, and with a lot of support, how easily I can do more such stories so that it gets the attention it deserves.
So that takes me to the next question, that a lot of times it is not spoken of how a journalist would feel stressed, depressed. There are a lot of journalists who cover war,
Yeah,
who suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder,
PTSD. Yeah,
and it's very traumatic. People are not talking about it. Why do you
yeah.
think what is it that these journalists are going through, and why is it not gaining any attention in at least our conversations?
Frankly, I don't know why it is not getting attention. What I possibly can tell you, that it's a very difficult situation. Particularly people who cover traumatic stories and events that are extremely difficult on human life, in matters of human lives lost and so on. It is extremely difficult to cope with something like that, and particularly in India, we don't have any mechanism to address that. I'll also tell you that it makes a difference in which organization you are and how that newsroom works. So, if you are in a newsroom which is about getting the story out in whatever way possible, there is basically no conversation that is happening between the journalist and the editor and how that person feels. But there
Right.
are enough newsrooms in India as well, that where the editor also takes out time to speak to someone who has had a difficult day of reporting. Even during the times of COVID, I
Right.
know correspondents who cover health. They were seeing hundreds of deaths every day and bodies being strewn up,
Yes.
on the corridors
Yes.
of hospitals. So, in some cases, their editors took them aside. They gave them a break. They said, process it, try and internalize it. If you want to speak to someone, please do speak to someone. That support system exists, but in a lot of newsroom, it is very toxic in a way that in anyhow the story needs to go out. So
Yes.
that is why, if you give attention to mental health of journalists who are going through something like that, then what happens basically is that your news churning ability goes down, because you need to give that
Hmm.
person some breathing space.
Yes.
And
Yes.
in particularly in 24/7 news cycle, there is no breathing space offered to most of the people.
Yes.
And
Yes.
anyways, most of the media organizations are short staffed.
Hmm.
So in that kind of a scenario, it is almost impossible for any journalist in India to find a recourse through the organizational mode.
Hmm.
Obviously, there are personal ventures where people seek out help from therapists, seek out help from counselors, psychiatrists, psychologists, because of
Hmm.
a lot of stress of our own work and lot of stories which we are covering that we cannot completely disassociate ourselves from.
Right, right. So you don't have like an association where people, journalists and people in journalism
There are
meet.
clubs, but yeah,
Mm.
there are clubs, but people mental health issue sadly remains a taboo one in India. I'm sure
Yes,
you know it better than me.
yes, yes,
So I have found a lot of people don't want to talk about it. It is
yes,
particularly harder for women because
hmm.
anyways there is a glass ceiling that exists and people think that women are more hissy or they complain more. There is this myth that
Yes,
that permeates, and a lot of my colleagues, I mean, I have talked to people who would say that the moment I say this, they will say, see, that is why I did not send you to that particular hospital to cover this story. So that gives an excuse to the editors who are mostly male to try and discriminate the women folk. And that is doubly hard for women. And also you cannot discount the fact that there is a serious gender bias in media industry,
yes,
particularly in India. There are lots of cases of sexual harassments. I mean, I'm sure you've heard about the Priya Ramani case and so
yes,
on.
yes, yes.
So the working atmosphere for women in media organizations have been extremely poor in certain cases, and
Hmm.
big organizations I'm not going to name, but there are plenty of examples, particularly during the Me Too movement. It threw
Yes,
up a lot of senior
yes,
journalists name. So there is absolutely no mechanism for anyone who is a survivor of sexual assault or sexual harassment. The kind of mental health problems that can, come up from something like that, which is a traumatic experience,
hmm.
uh, we don't have a mechanism to address that. And women
So,
journalists are far more vulnerable to that kind of,
of course.
situation where they get a raw deal.
Right. But do you know what? People say that women suffer from stress and depression more. But I was recently reading a data and it just showcased that men suffer from depression equally. They
I'm
are
sure.
going
I'm
through, there are more number of suicides in men than women. And
I'm
I was aghast. I was like, what is this? There is no one speaking of men's mental health, and
I
everybody
agree. I
is,
mean,
yeah.
it's not easy for men as well because the moment you say it, they will call you a sissy or something like that. Deal with
Yes,
it, man up. This
yes,
this tendency to trying to man up has created a lot of discomfort and lot of problems among men.
yes,
We should be open to our own vulnerabilities. We should be
yes,
open enough to talk about it. But a lot
yes.
of people repress it. A lot of men repress it because they think that they will be judged unfavorably, and which is true. This see, I mean, patriarchy works bad for women, and patriarchy works bad for men as well.
Absolutely,
This
absolutely.
is a in a patriarchal setup, you're supposed to behave in a certain manner, otherwise you're a lesser man. That's what
Yes,
the system says. So for a man also, it is equally traumatic not to be able to talk about something like that. What I wanted to shave through here, what I wanted to distinguish here is that men don't face a certain kind of problems what women face.
yes,
Men face it in a very different way. I'm not saying it is easy or hard.
yes.
It's equally hard for both of them. But the recourse a woman can take and a recourse a man can take, there is a slight difference between that,
Yes,
where
yes.
the woman is generally more disadvantaged.
Right, right, right. So, do you mean to say that organizations who are who are running journalism or who are newsrooms, these
Yeah.
organizations do not have a setup where stress and trauma and such kinds of problems are addressed within the organization? Is there
There are
any, is there any data which shows
no. In India, there is no data on journalists' mental health. But if you look at the United States, UK, Australia,
yes,
they
yes,
have data sets.
yes,
And, all of this is what we do things, the way we do things are in a little bit of pieces.
Yes.
We don't approach it holistically. So
Right.
in India, in many newsrooms or many media organizations, you can have a counselor speak to you, but that will severely affect your chances of getting promoted, getting an increment, and so on, because there will be a section of people who will think that you are not able enough to do your work. That's why you're seeking help from a counselor. That is detrimental. These are not written codes or anything like that, but
It's
these are
practiced.
how, yeah, this is the lived experiences of people. So you cannot
Yes.
distinguish it from, that. Um, I don't know. I think maybe you have come across it sometime. There is this very tragic picture of an African child from Sudan,
Yes. Yes. I was
uh,
going to
who
talk
is
about it. Yes.
uh, who is uh, who is probably going to die, and a vulture is waiting.
Yes.
And the journalist who clicked that picture, Kevin Porter, he
Yes.
won the Pulitzer Prize for that
Yes.
photograph.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
But he committed, he killed himself after 3 to 4 months.
Yes.
That that has been documented, and corrective measures have been taken. In
Yes.
India, there had been incidents where a journalist, due to various reasons related to his or her work, has committed suicide, but we have failed to take any corrective measure. So that is a huge difference that still exists in a developing country like ours.
Yes, yes. So we don't have a data. How will we? How are we going to even have a corrective measure? Because I was
Exactly.
reading about PTSD, and I read that some
Yeah.
countries where journalists are covering war or very difficult situations, these journalists, when they come back, they are given supportive measures
Yes.
towards getting out of this trauma. So if a few
Definitely.
countries can do it, I'm sure a country like India, which has so many journalists and they're doing a service, why can't a country like India do it?
That's a good question. But again, as we are a very profit driven model, a
Yes,
lot of
yes,
people might think that this is a wasteful expenditure.
yes,
And also, it is because of it's a cultural thing as well. We are yet to give mental health the importance it deserves.
hmm,
And but the organizations are opening up to it.
hmm,
There are progressive organizations, progressive media houses that do provide a support network to its journalists and staff, other staff as well. But we are a long way away from where you can say that a work environment of equitable, you know, uh, allocation of physical health, mental health is given in an organization in
yeah.
India.
Just to go back to what you said in the last few minutes, you said that there are counselors who you can speak to if you have
Company appointed
yeah,
ones.
company appointed ones. But again, if you expose yourself to speak about it, you are stigmatized and you probably lose the opportunity to step up, which means you're giving
Yes.
one step to climb up the ladder and you're given two steps to go to come back. Isn't that
Yeah.
two contrary things working together?
The correlation there is somehow it is seen that mental health issues are crippling work wise for
Yes,
anyone. It
yes.
limits someone's abilities, and enough material exists to show that it might not affect any one professional's ability at all.
Hmm.
But that is something which we have not caught up on yet. And many news organizations, many people who are the decision makers over there,
Hmm.
they think that, someone is having mental health issue, that means trouble.
Trouble
That
hai.
person might lose it anytime. I don't know what is
Hmm.
going to happen. Just keep it safe. Okay, I'll provide a counselor,
Hmm.
but maybe I am not going to, promote him to do stories which require a lot of, which will induce a lot of stress, or which are very serious in nature. So
Yes.
as a journalist, if you're not doing stories of consequences, then your career path becomes, it is not an easy ride. you
Yes.
you, you
Yes.
won't get easy promotions or increments like that.
राइट, राइट। जर्नलिज्म मतलब बहुत सारे ओपिनियंस आते हैं, मतलब अगर छोटी सी छोटी भी चीज़ होती है, पीपल हैव वेरिड ओपिनियंस ऑन वन टॉपिक। Do you think that
Yeah.
we as citizens of any country for that matter, do we think that we do not work consciously, we do not put across our opinions consciously?
No, I'm sure. I mean, Indians are, as Amartya Sen called it, argumentative, and argumentative means that people are opinionated
Yes,
in some
yes,
way or the other.
yes,
I think having opinions and freely expressing those opinions is a hallmark of any good democratically sound society. There is nothing wrong in that. Uh, I have an issue with people forming opinion from bad information, people forming opinion about things which they don't understand anything about.
yes.
I generally hope that people would form opinions after taking due consideration about the information they might or might not have,
Hmm.
so that the opinion is informed. Any opinion, and there is this tendency that, I have this opinion, you have to respect it. I'm sorry, if you have an opinion like, some 20 million people should be killed because you don't like their religion or their ethnicity or their race,
Yes,
that is not an opinion I'm going to respect.
yes.
Sorry, I mean, genocidal opinions is not something
That
which
opinion
has to be respected.
has come out of bias. So how can an
Yes,
opinion be?
and
Hmm.
but opinions can be informed.
Yes.
People, if I mean, a lot of things we learn every day.
Hmm.
What we don't do enough is unlearn. We have
Yes.
to unlearn a lot of things in
Yes.
a way which we have been. I mean, as a child, I had lots of bad information,
Yes.
and as how we grew up, how we had our biases made. I said in the beginning, everybody has their inherent personal biases.
Right.
That's fine, but if you are giving an opinion which is not concerning your personal habits or something like that, which is, say, a national matter or an international matter,
Hmm.
that opinion has to be an informed opinion. You cannot have a half-baked opinion drawing out from some fake news network or
Source.
something like
Yes.
that,
Yes.
and then you expect others to respect that opinion. I find that problematic.
Yes. Yes. Of course. Of course. So you said that journalism is a service. Do you think it's a thankless job now?
No, I think, yeah, people value journalism. People value good journalism. Still, I think there is a lot of scope for good
There is
journalism. We
only a
can
set of
do,
portion who actually is respectful towards.
yeah, a lot of people are not.
Hmm.
So that's anywhere. No, I mean, we can't choose our audience. We can't choose our
Hmm.
readers. We can't choose our
Hmm.
viewers. Uh, we are in an atmosphere where whatever I say, most of the people might not agree with me. Some people might agree with me.
Hmm.
See, that's not the point. It's not about it's not about I want a gratification from my job. I want people to be thankful to me. That service is not what I meant when I say
Hmm.
journalism is a service.
Hmm.
What I meant was that if I am able to highlight a certain issue that might help one family in a dire situation,
Yes.
and if that family feels that they are being heard, or I
Hmm.
mean, what is media? We are a vessel to, represent the point of views of people, represent the agony, represent the problems of people,
Yes.
try and amplify it, try and
Right.
report on it.
Hmm.
So if I can do a justice there, where I don't care what 100 others think, if I report on a suicide and they will say that, you're giving bad name to the village, you're giving bad name to the country, and something like that, there are people who have said.
Hmm.
But if that person whom I am reporting on gets some corrective measures, gets a grant that was promised to them because of my reportage, I think my job is done. I'm not going to dwell upon if 99 odd people disagreed with me, because there will be people who will disagree with me, and it's a thankless job, yes.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, you have to suit up for it.
Yeah,
There
because
is no
I
other way
saw
around.
recently in the last few months that a lot of journalists were just doing their jobs. People forgot that they are also human beings and they have to be respected as an individual. What
Yeah.
profession they are from is a matter in the secondary process. primarily it's important that he's an individual, no matter which opinion he comes from, what is his values, whatever he's reporting is his job. If you do not
Yeah,
agree with, if you do not agree with that person, that comes later.
yes, I think there is a lot of disrespect for journalists as
Yes,
well.
yes,
I totally agree. There is hostility among a certain
yes,
section of people about what we do. But see, we still, I mean, apart from a certain segment of reporters who are actually fighting state repression and who are putting their lives at risk in
yes,
certain areas
yes,
of India to cover
yes,
stories, I don't think the Delhi-based media or the Mumbai-based media, we are facing that sort of a hostile situation where we have to be too touchy about it.
yes.
Yes, we are probably not respected as much as the doctors or someone who is working in the army, but maybe we are doing an equally important job. I
Hmm,
understand that. I get that.
hmm, hmm.
But come on, it is India. The people who clean our manholes, they are doing an as important job as a doctor. How
Yes,
many lives they save by creating a drainage
absolutely.
system that is carrying the germs away, right? That is keeping your city clean. How
Yes,
much respect they get?
yeah,
It is,
absolutely.
I mean, if they can do their job with grace, if they can do their job respectfully, why can't we? I,
Right.
I don't see this yearn for earning respect. Yes, you do your job, not a lot of people are not going to respect it. Yes,
Yes,
a sewage water cleaner in most of the homes in India, he will not be allowed to come in, right?
right.
but
Yes,
but that is something that takes courage to do what he is doing, what we are doing. It is
yes,
a bare minimum which we are doing. I don't think we can command a lot of respect for that.
yes,
It's okay if
yes,
people don't respect
yes,
us.
yes. I would like to disagree with you a little bit here. Is that when you say
Okay.
that it's my job and I'm going to do it, and
Yeah.
no, it's India, no matter people respect me or don't respect me, it just
Yeah.
says that it just says that I do not care if people are not respecting me. But what I want to put across here when I'm promoting mental health is that
Yeah.
all of us have to be conscious and have more gratitude towards whoever is serving us. We are not living in a silos. If we are
Yeah.
cleaning our house, it does not mean that the entire society is cleaned because of us. No, there are hundreds of people who are tirelessly working for you to have a better life. So
Yeah.
the
True.
least that anyone can do to a society or to a community is to have more gratitude towards people, no matter if that's a journalist, if it's someone who cleans your house, if it's someone who cleans your society, it doesn't
Yeah.
matter.
I mean, ideally, yes, of course, I agree with you, but that's not what happens. I mean, look at the
Yes,
ground reality.
yes,
Someone who
yes,
cleans your sewage system, I'm certain that 90% of the household of India will not admit that person in their homes. It
yes,
is it is true. I'm not making it up.
yes,
So
and not even
if
recognize his
what
work, not even recognize
yeah,
his work,
exactly.
forget
So
allowing him.
manual scavenging remains a curse in India,
Yes,
and 90% of our cities and towns are cleaned in that manner. We don't have a mechanized system yet,
yes, yes,
but you you see how they are treated in
yes,
most parts of India. What all I say is that yes, I agree with you. Ideally, I would love to be respected, but at the same time, I won't compromise on my work ethics to
right,
earn
right,
respect
absolutely.
which are not rightfully mine. I I can only do an honest job, and the reaction of people is generally not on not within my control.
Yes,
If it happens, fair enough, but as long as I'm professional and I'm objective, I do honest work, I hope the respect would come, but if it doesn't come, I can't help it.
yes, yes, right, right. Absolutely, absolutely. We have normalized not being empathetic so much that
Yes, true.
now when whoever is trying to bring in more empathy, we're like, what is this happening? No, this is not normal. We
Yeah,
can't be.
and in my opinion, kindness takes more moral courage than hate.
Yes,
uh, to show kindness, it is more difficult, and it is absolutely necessary for us to be more kind to ourselves. kind to each other, be more kind in whatever we do.
Yes, yes.
But sadly, it is missing.
Yes, absolutely. So I want to highlight this age group, which is the teenagers and the youngsters who are shaping their morals and values.
Yeah.
A lot of misinformation is there in at this point of time, and they are being misled. Do you
Hmm.
think that if we bring more ethics to journalism, this
Yeah.
gap of mental panic and stress that is being introduced to these youngsters can narrow down?
Yes, teenagers are more impressionable. They are of a certain age where information affects them differently, and that can shape their life. I do agree. So, what I think we can do, not I'm not trying to be patronizing here, but I think we all, as a matter of national curriculum, when a kid reaches say 11th or 12th standard, we can probably introduce a course in humanities or as a general course about media studies, giving out the basic information about false information, make it a part of make it a culture to cross check information, verify information,
Absolutely,
as
I
I was telling you.
completely agree with you.
And if that sort of a curriculum is made, and it is not only about journalism, right? There is a lot of information coming from, say, social media handles, Twitter,
Yes,
Facebook,
yes,
even these days from Snapchat and so on.
yes,
So if a proper media and social media conduct curriculum is introduced, if it is made a part of child's development, and if there are enough people who can guide them in a way that they can choose their own path, but at least they go through a credible mechanism to do it, I
hmm.
think it is a manageable problem. But uh, in many cases, it has been attempted in UK and Spain and Germany. The problem remains is that the peer group one is in a teenager's life, a
Hmm.
lot of behavior is conditioned by that kind of peer pressure.
Hmm.
So uh, if we do something like that, it has to be a group effort, not an
Yes,
individual effort. We should approach them as a group, and we can have candid chats about it and make it a part of their overall school curriculum, so that they are at least armed with some basic tools to
yes,
know what is good information, what is bad information, what
yes,
information they need to believe, what can be constituted as rumors.
yes,
And there are social media is a place where people are fat shamed, people are shamed for various other things. How to be more body positive about your life,
yes,
because uh, teenagers have these aspirations these days that are necessitated by social media, to look a certain way, to eat a certain way.
hmm.
All that should be addressed in a one integrated holistic course about what media does to you, be it social media, be it TV media, newspaper media, whatever information you have in your hand,
Hmm.
how to make it manageable and how not to be get influenced by them unduly.
Hmm. In your personal experiences, have you ever come across an instance where a person has been negatively affected by a
Oh,
misinformation, or
yeah,
what?
yeah, many a times. I mean, just to give an example, there was this story doing rounds
Hmm.
recently, that the farmers who were protesting at the border, there were money coming in from Canada for from organizations that have Khalistani links.
Yes,
That
yes,
was an
absolutely.
absolutely sham story, but I spoke to a neighbor of mine who was very compassionate about the farmers issue till then. But when he read that fake news, that this has some Khalistani link, he came to the conclusion that everyone who is protesting peacefully is a Khalistani.
Yes.
So that is how misinformation shapes opinion, and it can create a sort of negativity that can affect a decent, normal, otherwise normal person's behavior, opinion, and subsequent actions.
Yeah, this makes me share one of the instances related to farmers' protests. So, when when someone like Rihanna was shamed immensely
Yeah, right.
for voicing her opinion, I just randomly shared on my WhatsApp about how a woman is shamed for being for
Hmm.
having an opinion. And one of
Yeah.
my friends, a very good friend of mine, he was so sad of me supporting her. And
Hmm.
in a series of conversations, he started abusing me. He said,
Hmm.
as a woman, how
Hmm.
can you do that? You're an Indian, you're this, you're that, you have to be nationalist, you can't let this happen. And I said, my opinion was just that a woman is being humiliated. It has got nothing to do with her nationality or me supporting the farmers or not supporting the farmers. It has nothing to do with you.
Yeah.
But I just realized that that one picture just changed the entire perspective of a friend towards me. So I
Yeah.
completely agree with you that how people just turn negative due to misinformation.
Yeah, and I would have still understood his angst if it was actually true. But it came from a propaganda website. And actually, the government of India later came out and said that this is a false story, which was planted by someone.
Hmm.
But even then, the opinion that gets formed, that's where we are faltering. We don't unlearn. We learned
Yes.
something and we cast it on a stone, and
Yes.
we never try and unlearn. And since last few years, it has become a problem that the personal and politics has it has mixed up a lot.
Yes.
So the
Yes.
personal becomes politics, and the politics, the people have lost family members, friends, and so on. if you look at
Absolutely.
the if you look at the American politics right now, people are losing their parents to this conspiracy theorist called QAnon, who has posted absolutely rubbish stuff. But people are so much taken to that sort of conspiracy theories and absolutely rubbish information that they have stopped being rational people. So if someone loses their rationality, it is a very different ball game altogether. And I also think this is a mental health issue.
Yes.
If people are taking to conspiracy theories, outlandish theories, there is some problem, some deficit that person is going through. It can be addressed, but again, people won't open up to it. That's the
Yes,
problem.
a lot of it is projection of your own vulnerability onto something else.
Own
Uh,
fears, own
yes,
insecurities
yes,
that are being projected through something like that.
yes,
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 definitely.
and it has, and it sometimes it becomes so such a big thing that people do not understand that they are breaking their relationships, they're breaking their
Yeah,
own physical health, they're breaking their own mental health. There are instances wherein families who do not agree with each other stop talking to each other merely on the
has
fact that
happened.
I don't agree with you. People
Yes, yes.
have forgotten to respect
Yeah,
opinions. So that takes me to the last question, is that how do
please.
you think that youngsters can be more responsible as journalists or
Mhm.
consumers of journalism? What do you think we as youngsters should do?
The youngsters should follow the original template of journalism. I am a traditional journalist. I believe in what, where, how, when, and that is the basic, simple thing they need to understand. That we are not experts on anything. We are jack of all trades, master of none. We have information, yes. We have our network of information givers, and we basically give out that information. Youngsters need to understand that basic first. Before forming opinions, I have to be a some sort of experienced opinion inducer. I need to be in that kind of a zone where I have enough information and enough experience to share an opinion.
Right.
So youngsters who are coming to journalism, their primary job is to shape bad information from good information
Hmm.
primarily. Then get back to the basic. What are
Hmm.
we doing? We are basically trying to give out information: what, when, how,
Right.
and write it in simple, whatever language you are comfortable in,
Hmm.
and try to have a network of your sources which is trusted, You verify it from multiple sources, and don't put out anything that can create social unrest, that can create stress to people, or that, or something that leads to a barrage, a multiplicity of fake information. Clickbait journalism, youngsters should try and avoid that. I
Hmm.
mean, you share something which people will click on, and it will become a viral thing, but at the end of the day, that information may not be good.
Right.
So that basic sense of objectivity, that
Right.
basic sense of, go back to something like Woodstein or Bernstein, or if you may, Mr. Irani, those days, just objective
Right.
journalism, that's the first step. You will always get time to become an opinion maker, become an
Yes.
columnist, become someone like Karan Thapar, someone like Manu Joseph. But please start uh, from a basic sense of giving out information.
Right. And also to add to this, I think people, youngsters like us, should add more logic, uh, and not just emotion. Because when we are consuming information, we tend to have more of emotion than less of logic. So
Yeah,
when
I think youngsters are passionate, and
yes,
they might get affected by a story much more than probably a person of my age. But
yes, yes,
it's good to be passionate. It's like, if you feel some injustice being done and you're on
hmm,
the street protesting it, we need that. I mean, that makes a democracy. That makes a responsible citizen.
right,
Your right as a citizen in a democracy is not just to vote, but
yes,
to hold people in power accountable. It doesn't matter which party they are
yes,
from. So to be outraged, to be angry, I don't think it is a bad thing. But you should be angry about something which is credible. You should be
right,
angry about an issue which has certain veracity. You cannot be angry on a propaganda which has no foundational on
yes,
truth.
right,
So if we can, I mean, I'm fine with a, hot blooded someone who is an activist sort of an individual, who is young, who wants to, people should be outraged about climate change, right? The
yes,
climate change
yes,
conversation, it has been taken forward by youngsters for a long, long time
absolutely,
right now.
absolutely,
So it is fine to be passionate, it is fine to be emotional about it.
yes,
You don't have to hide your emotions, but base your emotions,
on
draw
some
your
logic, yes,
conclusions
hmm.
on some logic.
Right,
If you can be rational and emotional at the same time,
at the
I
same
don't think
time.
that they don't essentially mutually, exclusive to each other.
Yes, absolutely. So as a journalist, how do you make sure that you take care of your mental health? What all do you
uh,
do?
I try and not to get work to my home. I have I try and keep my family time separate from work, and that has immensely helped.
Mm-hmm.
And I also believe that, again, end of the day, I am doing a job. It can be stressful. I'm covering things which are traumatic in
Right,
nature,
right.
but I have to keep myself in a sphere where I can be sad or I can be outraged about a certain thing, but it should not reflect in my work in a
In your
way
work.
where it affects the objectivity of my work.
Right.
So that way, I mean, I'm not saying my mental health is top notch. I have had bad days, I have had
Yes,
good
of
days,
course. Yes.
as
Yes.
everyone has probably. And if I believe I am in a space where I need help at this point of time, I'm confident enough to seek it out, and I will not be shy about it. I will rather encourage it, that if we face a traumatic situation in our lives, as, like, my fellow journalists, I would seek out help. If I cannot deal with something which on my own,
Hmm.
I will seek out professional help.
Great, great, great.
I've
I
not done
think
that yet, but I'm very open to it.
yeah, yeah. It was such a pleasure talking to you, Dave, today.
I'm glad. I
I
hope
am
I
I
added
did
some
not
value.
know that journalism is so deep, and it can be so simple. There are so many things that you have mentioned today which are going to be very helpful for people to be more conscious and more responsible when they are sharing information, when they are making opinions. I'm so glad that I spoke to you today on this topic.
The
Uh,
pleasure is mine.
Thank you so much for talking to us.
Thank you,
I hope
Mamta.
you have a good day.
You too, and
Thank you.
I wish you all the very best with your
Thank
wonderful
you so
project you
much.
have.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank
Bye
you.
bye.
Bye bye. Good night.
Good night.